Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the updated patch notes for Final Fantasy XIV. The biggest things being, of course, the job changes, plus one little snippet that's a little weird, but it was in the patch notes, and it is important to some degree to have a quick discussion about it. So, mostly between preliminary and full patch notes, it's really just job changes, plus a few little things, resolved issues, known issues, and there's some funny things in there right now. But the biggest thing people have been looking for the full patch notes is indeed the job changes, specifically with Monk, because there are a lot of questions about how Monk was actually being changed. Was it going to be for the better? Was it going to be for the worse? And we now have a semblance of an answer that's going to boil down to how people feel about, I guess, the streamlining of the job overall. But anyway, let's get right into that because that is the first thing that is here at the top. So all the potency changes are going to be reflective of the removal of Greased Lightning. So the damage buff that Greased Lightning was providing before no longer exists. So everything had to be buffed accordingly to make sure that that was taken in as a factor. Now you still have Fist of Fire, which will provide you with some additional damage dealt, so they can't go all the way. So these changes seem mostly in line with the approximate potency changes that they needed to make. I'm sure there are some people out there who have done the exact math about where things are, the approximation of things, but you can pretty much just do the percentages based on what they were before and what they will be now. But there's not much to say about these. It's, Boot Shine increase, True Strike increase, Snap Punch increase, no longer gives Grease Lightning because it's no longer in effect. Twin Stakes increased, Armor the Destroyer increased, Grease Lightning being removed, Demolish, increase, Dot, increase. Like all of this is just a byproduct of Grease Lightning. There isn't really anything to say about all this. Now, when we start getting into things that are worth talking about, Perfect Balance. The effects of this action have been revamped. Now, we knew this from the live letter. It now no longer is 10 seconds of kind of formless attacking. It gives you 6 stacks of Perfect Balance, and each of these allows for formless attacking. So you can gain the benefit of any of your formed abilities, any of your stance-based abilities, without having to worry as much about fitting them all in that 10-second timer. They also increase the timer to 15 seconds, so the odds of you ever missing anything in Perfect Balance now, it really can only happen if you die or you press it right before a boss jump or something like that. This is a change I expect them to make across more jobs going into 6.x. I suspect Inner Release will probably be changed to be like this. Hypercharged on Machinist will probably be changed to be like this. So I expect this is very much the future of abilities where you have a very tight window of timing in order to be as effective, or you lose a huge portion of the job's strength. So I fully expect this to be a big change that we see with a lot of jobs moving forward. Monk and Ninja, back with 5.1, are just a little bit ahead of the curve. Dragon Kick, right in line. I don't know why. They should have just put Dragon Kick up here with everything else. Why you gotta separate them all like that? Come on. I mean, I know why, but it still bothers me that it's like that. Form Shift, it's basically like a one-hit Perfect Balance now. It just gives you Formless Fist for your next hit, so you don't need to press it over and over again to cycle through the stances. It just allows you to execute a weapon skill that requires a certain form without being in that form. However, all of the effects of that form will still take place after the fact. So it ultimately doesn't change what you'll use it for, but you're going to be pressing it less during downtime phases. You just need to make sure that it's up and it's on by the time a target becomes available in most content. Solid change overall. Meditation recast time has been reduced. This should again make the management of this a little bit better during downtime. It doesn't seem like a lot to remove that 0.2 seconds, but when you have to press it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on how many stacks you're actually missing, I'll take that 0.2 seconds off the multiple button presses every single time. Now the Forbidden Chakra reduction is a little weird to people until you read through the rest of the notes. So we're going to come back to the Forbidden Chakra potency reduction because it's not as simple as it seems on the surface. Elixir Field, on the other hand, bam, there you go. Now Tornado Kick also got a potency reduction because it is now just a normal OGCD. This is something we also knew from the live letter. Once every 45 seconds, 400 potency. It's just going to be fit into your rotation as a big damage tool as an OGCD. And there's nothing else to say about that. It's kind of lame and uninspired to some degree, but, people have been saying, I haven't gotten to use Tornado Kick in years. I didn't play Stormblood Monk, so I haven't got to use it in years. Well, there you go. Tornado Kick, OGCD, use it. Don't be afraid of that button anymore. So Deep Meditation 1, this is a bit of bait because people see that and they go, oh, it's going from 50% to 80%. But there's 2 levels of the Deep Meditation trait, and I actually want to skip down to the second one so we can get the full picture for max level Monk. The chance a chakra will open when dealing critical damage with a weapon skill has been increased to 100%. That is the main reason why Forbidden Chakra had its potency brought down, is because the odds of you getting your meditation stacks have gone up. Now, will that offset the chances going up that extra 30%? Well, they seem to think so, and we'll have to see it in practice. But if you crit, you're getting a stack. That's pretty much what it means. Crit was already an insanely valuable stat, and you know what? This makes me miss inner, what was it called? Internal release? I don't know, because we have inner release, internal release. It always confused me as soon as they had internal release. It makes me miss it more. But we're going to be stacking crit rate, so that's all that matters for the monks. So that's a big thing. There isn't one more change in regards to Brotherhood, which is right there, but we'll get to it in a second. Come back to Riddle of Earth real quick. So Riddle of Earth right now is just 30 seconds of basically no positionals whenever you proc it. So instead of making it so you need to proc it, you can instead activate it for the nullifying all action requirements whenever you want, but it only lasts 6 seconds, and it has 3 charges. It also only has a 30-second recast time, so this seems like they just want you only using Riddle of Earth when you know you can't get positionals for short periods of time, instead of giving you this whole half-a-minute window, plus you still have True North in your roll actions. So I agree that it seemed a bit excessive, and a lot of the times the whole 30 seconds wasn't super important, but this will mean that if there are extended phases where you need that, you probably want to use True North, burn through your True North stacks, and use this more for short time windows where you just need it for a GCD or 2. It's just a little bit of extra True North, as opposed to being half of your rotation basically didn't have positionals. And it seems like that's a big thing. Because they're removing Grease Lightning from the identity, they want to make sure that the importance of your positionals is, I guess, a little more pronounced. So making it so half of them are not automatically nulled of positionals is probably a good idea. We still have basically full access to making them have no positional when you need to in the requisite content. So I think it'll work out. It's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. And also means that the damage reduction is also whenever you want it to be. A lot of the times when we're stacking up for mechanics, it is going to be a time when you take damage as the monk as well. So it kind of adds up, but that was already kind of where Riddle of Earth was going. So it still kind of fits the same build, just by putting a little bit more onus on when you press the button, as opposed to just allowing it to cover as much time as it does. Anyway, Brotherhood is probably the most important change Monk got. I know that with Grease Lightning change and Tornado Kick that sounds like a lot, but Brotherhood is one of 2 abilities that I think needs this change, and now we just have to wait for Embolden to get it. So Brotherhood was changed from increasing physical damage dealt by 5% to increasing all damage dealt by 5%. So it's basically Trick, which means it's very, very strong compared to where it was before. If you had double casters, any casters, especially in dungeons, anywhere, it lost a lot of effectiveness, both for the monk's output and for the overall party's output. Now, it was on a 90-second cooldown, so it's not entirely like Trick, but it is still an additional 5% damage tool for the entire party. The bigger thing is that Meditative Brotherhood, which is the effect you get from this that lets other people's weapon skills feed into your chakra stacks, now works on spells too. So that means that Monk is no longer a purely physical synergy job. It has synergy with every job in the game. This is a big reason why Forbidden Chakra was changed as well, because Brotherhood is now going to proc off absolutely everything. All your healers glaring, all of your casters casting, they're going to be feeding into your stacks as well. Now, because of that, they lowered the proc chance to 20%, down from 30%. I have a feeling that won't matter, and that you'll still just notice them go crazy when it comes to the actual procs. That's still a lot of spells and weapon skills during burst windows that you are going to be dealing with. We'll still see how the reduction from 370 to 340, especially with the Grease Lightning removal, how that will actually pan out. But it should still feel pretty good to get all the Forbidden Chakras that you're going to be smacking in the middle of a burst window. Now, in Knotman, okay. So a Knotman now extends the duration of Twin Snakes and your present form to maximum and halts their expiration. This is the thing that you do during your downtime now with a Knotman. So you'll press form shift once, although I still think it should freeze form shift. Maybe you can just press form shift right before the boss becomes available. I don't know what the plan is here. So your downtimes include form shift, getting your chakra stacks back, and this. So here's the thing. On the surface, it makes a lot of sense. You can now, no matter what, you'll have Twin Snakes coming out of a downtime window. which is great for the first couple of hits before you would have normally applied Twin Snakes. And that's pretty much all that I really see it doing, because you're generally prepping for, with the amount of speed a monk has, I believe a 5th GCD, around the 5th GCD monk does, is when they expect the ninja to be using a trick attack, or for a burst window to be opening overall with the rest of the party. So it leaves two options open. If your group is instantly bursting, you'll have Twin Snakes going into a perfect balance combo. Cool. You can open, I believe, I haven't played Monk much this expansion. I've been trying to pay attention to it. I believe you'd open with, if you were just literally in first GCD in bursting, I think you'd open with the Dragon Kick, and then you'd perfect balance, and then Boot Shine, Dragon Kick, Boot Shine, Dragon, and then you'd go through that whole thing. If you're doing like a 4th or a 5th GCD trick, you'd go through Twin Snakes again, I'd imagine, just because you need to in order to safely make sure that it lasts the entire perfect balance distance. But it's one of those things that's fine, but it's nobody's excited. This is your level 80 ability. This is similar to the problem that Samurai had when they hit level 80 with their ability, and that it was just like, really? That's what you've got for me? And I do wonder if this is just mostly like them looking each other at the table. Or I'm sorry, it's 76. It's not 80. But either way, yeah, the disappointment for level 80 is one below this. It's still a high level ability that you still just look at each other and you're like, you do the, with John Travolta just looking around, you do that and you're just like, all right, yeah. I suspect that they may be held back a little bit on some of these because they know they have an expansion coming. And with the Sixsided Star change, yeah, it hits harder now and it gives you the movement speed, but it's still functionally exactly the same. You'll still only use it right when you're going for downtime windows, because you're not just going to use it for no reason. Just maybe lets you greed half a second longer, and that's about all it's going to be doing for you. The good news is you don't need to Six-Sided Star into a Tornado Kick now, and then if you mistime that at all, you just completely lose, off on some GCD times or whatever. Now it's just you'll do the Six-Sided Star and you'll just run. So I have a feeling that this is to lay a foundation. All of this is very foundational work. This is how something that has not gone through expansions and expansions of iterations, you'd expect it to maybe work, like a very solid foundation. Because the big problem with Grease Lightning was it was like trying to build a skyscraper on a children's playground, essentially, with the way Grease Lightning was before. It's like, yeah, this thing is really fun, but all this on top of it just is really getting to be too much. They've now rebuilt the playground, and now they can hopefully not build another skyscraper on top of it or something like that. That's what I get here. I don't suspect going into the expansion that they'll do anything that like adds a new job gauge or like rewrites it. I have a feeling it'll be a very Red Mage-ish kind of change where there's some sort of like new finisher or something along those lines going into the expansion. But I'm down to be wrong because now the room is open for things to be more actively changed going into the expansion without being hampered down by Grease Lightning. I do think it's been streamlined a lot to the point where veteran monks might be a little upset in a sense that they're not really sure if the identity that they initially fell in love with the job is still there. It still is the positional heavy, fast attacking, punching and kicking badass that it was. But all of the management that may have gone into the little micro optimizations, they need to be refigured out and see if there even are any more. We'll see. I mean, double true strike is almost certainly still to be a thing, and that's always time. But this isn't anything that as someone who used to be a monk main that makes me go, I need to play monk. I'll just be like, yeah, I'll pick it up and try it. Why not? I probably won't mind playing it, but it's not gonna it's not gonna be my, yeah, this is it. This is the big thing. It'll be easier for new people to get in. It'll be easier for people to pick it up and play it and understand it. And veterans may or may not have, divisive opinions about whether or not it's good for the job or bad for the job overall. I'll leave that to people who are more on the theory crafting side of things, because I'm not running all the numbers and doing all the optimizations right now. I'm just reading text and giving a first impression of it. So don't take any of that verbatim, or don't take any of that as gospel. Just understand that that's my initial look over without having to sit down and actually go through everything. As for some other job changes, Dragoon, some potency buffs to Chaos Thrust, Fang and Claw, and Wheeling Thrust. Okay, they said we would be getting some minor changes, so that's in line with that. Rogue and Ninja, I don't understand this at all. They don't need any buffs, but maybe they're scared of Monk? I don't know. here's 10 more potency to Spinning Edge and Gust Slash, I guess, for some reason. So there you go. Bard Burst Shot. I love when people laugh at like 10 potency to Burst Shot and they go, that's so stupid. I'm like, do you know how many times you use Burst Shot in a fight? Like, yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's 10 potency on one of your most frequently used GCDs. That adds up a lot. So I'm not gonna laugh at that because as silly as it seems, it's quite a bit of burst shots that you do throughout a fight. That adds up pretty quick. For something that essentially doesn't affect your gameplay at all, you're just gonna hit a little bit harder, and that's all that you're really gonna do. I think Bard has other systematic changes that need to be addressed during the expansion, but that's a conversation for another time. Red Mage 2. I mean, here's 10 potency to Jolt 2, to the Enchanted Riposte, and to the Enchanted Jolt. This is specifically the increase to the potency of her Fire and Verse Stone from Enhanced Jolt. So, and then Scholar. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting one. So, Energy Drain had its potency brought down to 100. Biolysis increased by 10, and Broil 3 increased by 10. This is very much along the same lines as what I mentioned with Burst Shot, where it doesn't seem like a lot. But this is the damage over time potency, so every tick that you're getting of that Biolysis is going to go up by 10. That's fairly significant. On top of that, your Broil going up by 10. This actually leads into a rather interesting thing, because Ruin 2ing for Energy Drains when Energy Drain was 150 made a whole lot more sense, because you wanted to be getting that extra DPS from the Energy Drains out, and you didn't want to be clipping a hard cast. With this, you probably do actually want to sometimes clip your Broil 3s, like, go right from a Broil 3 into an Energy Drain into another Broil 3, instead of always using the Ruin 2 because of the pretty big potency hit here, because there's a 60 potency change across this overall. So it's going to mean Ruin 2, you'd still use it for movement, you'd still use it for double weaving, because you don't want to double, weave between hard casts, but you otherwise are, during a burst window are probably going to do Broil 3 Energy Drain instead of Broil 3 Ruin 2 Energy Drain. So we'll see how that actually pans out, how the Scholar mains actually determine if that's how things are going to be, if that's the improvement that has been made. But that's my impression of it, and I'm curious to see how it pans out in that degree. Going back down to Monk, in case you were wondering, real quick, for the Grease Lightning, we no longer have to manage Grease Lightning, but you still get the speed up from the trait that they're adding into it. So you'll still be 20% faster at level 80. You'll still have that super, super fast gameplay. And in fact, you'll have it all the time. You won't have to build up to it. You'll just always be at this 20% boost. So that's going to be fun. That's your opener is going to be very, very, very quick. That's it for the job changes. There are PvP changes a little bit further. I guess that isn't it for the job changes. I may have spoken a little bit too soon. Because Blue Mage is getting some tank changes now, probably ahead of their content for 5.45. So this is interesting. Mighty Guard has damage reduction changed from 70% to 40%. That's a little frightening, because I'm going to be honest, tank Blue Mage is the hardest of the Blue Mages to play. Now, I understand that when you're taking the big hits, you are diamond backing them, but man, does it suck trying to actually do that in an effective manner. Sticky Tongue being changed to increased enmity as a ranged option. It's your shield lob, essentially. The big thing that comes with the Mighty Guard change, though, is Devour, where Devour, when you're under Ethereal Mimicry tank, now it lasts 70 seconds. So that means that your health pool is now higher in exchange for your damage taken now being lower. Again, you still just really diamond back pretty much every tank buster. They have some other tank skills, but Blue Mage tank stuff is really, really jank. And I think that's probably the role they need to still, even after these changes, adjust the most with the new abilities in 0.45. Oh, you know what? Also, I just realized I've been reading this wrong the whole time. Mighty Guard, you deal more damage while you're in it, so tanks will deal more damage. Never mind, you're still tanky as hell. It's even better for you now. Tanks enjoy. They'll probably make it even easier. Yeah, reduction to damage dealt has been decreased from 70% to 40%. Never mind, y'all gonna be stupid good. All right, never mind. You're all good. Sometimes you don't want to read these at 7 in the morning because you're not going to see them properly. Yeah, that's going to be real good. I still think even with the Devour change, though, they still need to look at Blue Mage and do something more, because it's really weird to just the Diamondback spam. It's pretty much Restore MP, Diamondback, Restore MP, Diamondback. So it's still the role I think they need to hit, do the best with going into the next change. But Sticky Tongue, Devour My... This is all good. These are all buffs across the board. This should make tanking a whole hell of a lot easier as a blue mage, but there's still some room to actually improve that. There we go. All right. Fixed it. Fixed the opinion. There we go. This is also just... They added the ability to level sync while still being undersized, so this is just a change to reflect that. You just need to be level synced or item level synced in order to have the super good learn rates, the 100% learn rates, and nothing too fancy to say about that. They adjusted some locations of enemies. I don't even remember if this was in the original. And then it goes back into all the stuff that we knew before. Now there is one other major thing that we need to look for, and I don't remember exactly where it is in the patch notes. I might have scrolled past it already, actually. Here's the oh no, here it is. So here are the PvP changes, by the way. I'm not going to talk about them, but Monk, obviously, if they're getting rid of Grease Lightning in PvE, they're getting rid of it in PvP. So a lot of these changes reflect that. Samurai got some buffs, Bard has a little more HP, all the range physical have a little more HP, XCOG got buffed, and Astro has more timing based for Lord and Lady. It's the damage buff is bigger, but it doesn't last as long. So here's the big one. This one's obviously a major point of discussion. So they had an oopsie. They had a little bit of an oopsie with materia sockets in some of the new gear. In the Matoya's Relic dungeon gear, which it doesn't matter, I hate to say. I mean, for those people who are new players who need it as an upgrade, cool, but for the grand scheme of what we're going to talk about, the Matoya's Relic part is irrelevant. It's not going to matter for the things they mention in this post. Eden's Promise is a little bit more important. Eden's Promise, this will affect normal and savage mode belts and accessories. Due to an error in item specifications, belts and accessories obtained in the duties mentioned above will have 2 materia sockets. So the belt and accessories for the first raid tier that I can mention, or that I can remember, will have 2 slots in them. So that means when the normal mode gear just got a little bit better and the savage mode gear got noticeably better. So these gear pieces were intended to have 1. They screwed it up, but it was too close to 5.4's release, so they decided to leave them and will not be changing them in the future. That's just how these ones are going to be. So the big thing with this is they're worried it's going to affect the world race. Obviously, crafted gear is the biggest thing day one. People who are competing in the world race, they buy all the brand new crafted gear. They have somebody make it for them, meld it for them. They got pentamelds across the board. They have all the optimal items that they could ever want. And that's what they go into the raid tiers with for any sort of, incremental percentage-based odds or damage increases or efficiency increases that they can deal with. So because this is only belts and accessories, this means that between the normal mode pieces and the pentamelded crafted pieces, that you essentially have the 3 overmelded 7s as the difference. Because before, with the 1 slots, you'll do the 1 slot of the 8, you'll overmeld the 1 slot of the 8, and then you'll do the rest of the 7s. This will make it so you get 2 slots of 8 guaranteed on the normal mode. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but across every accessory and belt, those 7s, they matter quite a bit. This is only going to matter at all in such a small amount that it's almost not even a factor. If tanks, for example, have like a ring, that the crafted ring is skill, speed, tenacity. If they, let's say all their accessories are skill, speed, tenacity, then it might make a little bit more of a difference. If the crafted gear, and specifically if it's the crafted gear that has those stats, because then you'll probably want to get that adjusted. And that's really the worst case scenario across all the roles. Like, obviously, if the crafted gear for healers was determination, spell speed, and you really wanted it to be like crit determination or something like that, but you'd still be melding a bunch of crit onto it, so the difference wouldn't be as noticeable. For tanks, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. For DPS, same thing. It's going to be a lot more noticeable when it comes to these. It's just tanks are going to be the most noticeable ones. I don't think this will change much. I'm still going to be running all crafted. It leaves me the option that when I'm running through, if I want to grab a bolt and maybe have it in case an accessory is better in some way, or just the substats are way superior, then that's when it'll matter the most. But I wouldn't worry too much about this. It's not that big of a deal. The people who are going through aren't going to stop and farm normal mode most likely for that little bit of an increase. They're going to try to be smart about their first run through. Make sure that if anyone does need accessories, they grab bolts, and then that'll probably be the end of it, because pentamelded crafted gear, as they even say in this own notification, is comparable to, if not more effective than, the aforementioned belts and accessories. So this, if anything, is better for the casual player. It means there'll be a little bit less onus on you to maybe grab all the crafted pieces if people are constantly telling you that the normal mode accessories and belts will be better for you than they were a patch ago. So you can enjoy that, but the people who are going crazy hard, the people who this is mostly geared towards, this notification, probably won't worry about it as much. They only have to really worry about the normal mode too, because the Savage mode stuff already has 2 slots. So I don't even know why I mentioned that. Because it's by the time you have the Savage gear, I mean, it's all for Ultimate anyway. You're going to be running that regardless. So it's really all about the normal mode stuff. That's where it's really going to be the biggest difference. So this will also affect the balance of gear obtained from Eden's Promise Savage. Yeah, it's comparing it to Savage mode gear. And it's like, man, I still think I'm going to run again, unless it's got skill speed determination or skill speed tenacity. Who knows then? Tanks, I feel real bad for you every time I say the word skill speed tenacity. And I'm sorry I've had to say it so many times, but sometimes you just got to drive a point home. And other than that, there's just a few other changes. I'm sure there's other like little bits of text that I didn't pay attention to that are new amongst all this stuff. But the only other real big thing that I took note of was the resolved issues. It's funny, there's a fix to Midas in here. Where's the fix to Midas? There it is. Even after all these years, Midas, you don't know when to stop disappointing. Oh boy, that one's good. There's actually some pretty hilarious ones in here, like the potion not fixing, Walking Dead, and Bazia. There's a bunch of Lacus Latory and Bazia ones here. An issue wherein Frontlines did not list experience points as a reward. The 11th panel could not be turned over. I never had that, but that's a terrible, terrible thing. There's all sorts of stuff in here. And these are all fixed issues. These are resolved. So this one's actually kind of interesting. We're playing a Black Mage where players casting an area of effect spell that was of opposite element dealt less damage than intended. So that means Black Mage AoE was just sometimes worse. And now it won't be. They've resolved it. Unless they've added another bug, they've otherwise resolved it. The known issues are also interesting. There's apparently just an invisible wall in the Shroud now that you can jump over, but you can't walk through. So if you get stuck in the Shroud for no reason at X17.5, Y19, jump forward, and you'll get out of this cage that you've been forced into. Graphics for Arcane Runes do not display correct. An issue we're in. Dora, the explanation of the Dora indicator is missing in the Mahjong tutor. The Shun Botanist and Minor trait Impulsive Appraisal Mastery, which was scheduled to be removed, still appears, but the trait has no effect on gameplay. Issue we're in viewing the voice control panel using the classic UI theme, wherein the icons for unassigned airships and submersibles do not display correctly. Yeah, nothing too major other than this wall. That's probably the most important thing that's actually sitting here. And I assume that the graphics not showing correctly doesn't actually impact the gameplay in any way. But, no, not Dora the Explorer, the Dora Indicator. But we'll call it Dora the Explorer. Regardless, the biggest thing with this was obviously the Monk changes, so I'm curious to see how Monk mains feel after the patch goes live. I'm not so much worried about what people are saying now. Curious how Monks respond to it after they've logged in and actually played it. And I have a feeling we'll still see a lot of the same opinions and whatnot when that time comes regardless. That was all the way back up here. And for everyone else who got potency increases, enjoy them. Because why not? We got our last raids here. We got Ultimate in 5.5x. You know, we've still got Deliberum. We've got Fun Times Ahead. And of course, Blue Mage stuff coming in 5.45 as well. But with that, that's going to be a wrap. It's time for me to chill and relax on the day before raid. I'll be live probably around 1 to 1:15 in the morning, about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before the servers go up. There is a 0% chance the servers come up early. For anyone who is wondering, 2 a.m. Pacific is when we hop in and we go right into normal mode. We blow through normal mode. We jump right into Savage. That's what we'll be doing all day, all week. The YouTube channel will have uploads with normal mode and Savage mode, and pretty much all the first clears of everything that I do going into this patch. But with that, I'm going to wrap up my YouTube recording. I've got a Twitch live stream to do for the day. I'm going to be hopping on Genshin for a bit because I don't have much else to do for the time being. And with that, I'll get this uploaded to YouTube. So thanks everyone on YouTube for watching this. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for all of the patch 5.4 stuff. And Twitch, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. With that, I'll see you all in the next one. And until then,